Good evening, everybody. President Trump today making his immigration stance clear with no equivocation at all. There must be a border wall as part of any deal on DACA. His promise to build the wall has been a central tenet of his campaign and his presidency. But Dems and Rhino Republicans trying to drive President Trump in an altogether different direction yesterday. Among our guests here tonight, Congressman Andy Biggs. Congressman Biggs says the wall must be built before Congress passes any DACA legislation. Also tonight, President Trump calling on Republican lawmakers to take control of the Russia witch hunt. None of the investigations have found a single shred of evidence of wrongdoing whatsoever, and yet the special counsel goes on, continues to waste time and taxpayer dollars and energy. And Congressman Francis Rooney joins us as well. He says the Department of Justice and FBI are simply, as he put it, off the rails and need to purge the deep state. He will join us here tonight as well. President Trump reportedly recertifying the Iranian nuclear deal this week. Sources tell Fox News that's because progress is being made on legislation to fix problems in the deal that the president has criticized for 2 years. We'll take it up with General Jack Keane. Our top story tonight, President Trump today saying any immigration deal that he signs must include funding for his promised southern border wall.
We need the wall for security. We need the wall for safety. We need the wall for stopping the drugs from pouring in. I would imagine that the people in the room, both Democrat and Republican, I really believe they're going to come up with a solution to the DACA problem, which has been going on for a long time, and maybe beyond that, immigration as a whole. But any solution has to include the wall, because without the wall, it all doesn't work.
President Trump's comments follow a San Francisco federal judge's ruling barring the Trump administration from phasing out the Obama-era DACA program. President Trump today blasted that injunction from the Clinton-appointed judge, saying this, quote, "It just shows everyone how broken and unfair our court system is when the opposing side in a case such as DACA always runs to the Ninth Circuit and almost always wins before being reversed by higher courts." The Trump administration's next move to seek a stay of that ruling from the Ninth Circuit or go straight to the Supreme Court. Our first guest tonight says President Trump was well within his rights to end DACA, and the ruling is the latest example of an activist judge imposing his political views. Joining us tonight, Congressman Andy Biggs, member of the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman, good to have you here. And is it not frustrating to watch usually these left-wing judges try to intervene in the legislative process and overwhelm our political system?
Yes, Lou, it's good to be with you, but I can't agree more. I happen to live in Arizona, which unfortunately is in the Ninth Circuit, and I will just tell you, that circuit is out of control. That's why I introduced legislation to at least get Arizona out and create a new circuit, but I'll tell you, we have got to bring them to heel, and the only ways we can do that really are financially. That's one of our checks against the judiciary, but we could also call some of these judges in to impeachment even if we need to.
Yeah, and there hasn't been an impeachment. When I look at the rulings, I mean, some of it is as if it's from a distant and very strange land, not one of our most important circuit courts.
Yeah, I think they're so far off the reservation that everything they do there is viewed by people who live there as it's a political motivation. That's right. Why they're ruling the way they are. We get it. But you need to get off the bench if everything is going to be based on politics rather than on the law. That's just the way it is.
Well, let's turn to DACA itself, the case that's at the center of the controversial ruling. DACA, the president has moved against it. And yet Congress has not, in the time that he allotted, which was until March 5th, done anything to replace DACA or to make amends for what is what was an unconstitutional executive order on the part of President Obama, and what is a very, very complicated mess for those brought here illegally by their illegal immigrant parents.
Yeah, you know, here's the deal. President Trump did what he had to do. He basically said, look, I can't in good conscience exercise a power I don't have, like the previous president did. So he's given it back to Congress, which is where it should be. But DACA is not what people want. We get confused. What they really want is the DREAM Act. I mean, it's a complicated thing, I'll grant you that. But the DREAM Act is actually very simple. It says basically if you were brought here illegally, we're going to give you a path of amnesty and keep your family here and keep the chain migration in place. That's really what's going on. So when you hear people talk about DACA, that's generally what they want.
That's what the left wants. That's what
exactly
the Chamber of Commerce wants. But
yeah.
that isn't what the American people want, who in the most recent polling that we've looked at, shows most people, first of all, illegal immigration isn't even close to the top of their list of issues and concerns. And secondly, most oppose amnesty, period.
Right. That's exactly right. The key for Republicans is we promised we'd build a wall. So we should be building the wall first. I mean, and if the White House says, which it did this week, that it would only take a year to build it, let's build it for a year. And then we can start talking about additional immigration programs, such as DACA, if that's what we want to do. But let's keep trust with the people first, and let's secure the border. And the best way to do that is with a physical barrier.
Did you see Senator Feinstein in that meeting in the cabinet room of the White House with the president? The first thing she did was say, well, let's just have a clean DACA bill, and then we'll guarantee that we'll move on to border security at a later date, a much later date. In 1986, with amnesty, President Reagan was rolled, and there was never any security measure applied to the border, despite his full-on amnesty in 1986.
Yeah, the first thing you learn when you come here is who you can trust and who you can't trust. And I'm just telling you right now, you better build the wall and get your security first. Then you can start cutting some deals on the other issues like DACA maybe. But don't give in on this. That's my position. And we're frankly moving to the Democrat talking points and putting the cart before the horse when you start talking DACA and amnesty. It
is strange that we're sitting here with all that has been accomplished by this president and his administration in the first year. Unprecedented results for any president. And suddenly we're talking about DACA, for crying out loud. The Judiciary Committee, which you are an important part, the proposal today to end I love the concept even of a visa lottery, chain migration, build the border wall, moving ahead with that proposal. What are the odds that a crackdown on sanctuary cities and the DACA 3-year renewable status, as you were suggesting there, while the wall is being built, what are the odds that it can win passage?
Well, I think they're pretty long odds if you want the truth, because you got to get it through the Senate, and I don't think you're going to get anything through the Senate, quite frankly. And I get back to the point, my colleagues on the other side, they don't just want DACA, they want the DREAM Act.
Right.
And so when we start talking, well, we want X, Y, and Z and this whole myriad of things, which are not bad, they're good things, good changes. In diversity lottery, that's a great thing. E-Verify, that's a great thing. But you know what? I don't think that the other side is going to be able to come along for a 3-year renewal DACA. Well, they want more than DACA. DACA, the way that's put in there is a 3-year renewal DACA, basically in perpetuity, which is a real problem for me. But they want the DREAM Act. They want a path to citizenship, and they want amnesty.
Well, a little history here, Congressman, for some of our audience who may not know. 2 people were in that room, Senator Durbin, along with Senator Feinstein, so maybe 3, I should say, and at the same time, Senator Menendez. We could have had a deal in 2006, in my judgment, in what was then called the Kennedy-McCain comprehensive immigration bill. We could have had a deal, except the left, in the person of 2 of those 3 people, insisted on chain migration. So there was the history of it, and we've got 20 of 30 million immigrants who've come to the country legally. 20 million of those, for those in the audience who don't know, were brought in not as immigrants, but brought in as part of the chain migration. It's really a stunning impact. Most immigrants come to this country as part of chain migration rather than being sought out for their skills, their talent, their education level.
Yeah, you're right, Lou, and that's part of a huge problem that we have in our country today. That's a remnant from the Teddy Kennedy change in the immigration policy in the 60s. Right. And so we've been going for basically almost 3 generations now with a focus on familial ties as opposed to what is really in the best interest of the United States of America. Mm-hmm. And that's our problem, and I'm sure hoping that we're not going to go that way where we grant this DACA where we'll end up being 2 or 3 million people because they want chain migration with it. Yeah.
How do you think the president will lead on this?
Well, I think that he's going to insist, quite frankly, that we get the fence going, and I don't think we should just get money in there. I think we should start seeing some bricks, we should some steel, we should see some mortar.
How about build a damn thing?
I'd like to see you build it before you ever do the DACA thing. That's where I am.
And I happen to think you're absolutely correct. Congressman.